What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. It is time to look to Sunday NFL, and that means Westgate Super Contest. Craig, how are you? What's going on, man? How's your Saturday night going?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to Matt Sells. Of course, it's Rosh Hashanah, and certainly celebrating that as well. But yes, interesting weekend for sure. I think that Thursday night sort of played out the way I think we talked about it on Thursday night, leaning on the over. So that came in. That would maybe they should do totals in the contest. We would have got started off with a 1-0 there. But yeah, interesting lines this week. Not a lot of spreads where the line is 1, 2, or 3. A lot of extravagant spreads, 6, 7, 8, even higher than that. And so, look, it's the NFL. Crazy things are going to happen. So some of these underdogs are going to be huge wins this week. And so if you're actually making bets this week, you may want to take a look at some of the money lines out there, because you can actually bet 100 to make 250, $300 this week on a single game. And so there will be some of those games out there like that. And in addition to that, of course, we're trying to figure out which teams showed in week one that they are going to be real, and some that are basically pretenders that won in week one. Is Jacksonville for real? Is Washington for real? Teams like that really there aren't a lot of expectations for. So injury-wise this week, I really didn't see anything all that significant that would affect the spread. Michael Thomas being out would seem to affect a little bit for the Saints, although they still are at home. And look, Godwin, I guess, was announced to be out for Tampa Bay, but it's pretty clear at this point that Tampa Bay played Perriman all last year, and they were fine too. So there's nothing in particular that struck me. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow morning. But our picks for the Super Contest are due here in just a few minutes, so we got to get going.
All right, well, let's make them then. And I think let's start right off the top where we're actually taking a favorite, a home favorite first. But I mean, this is almost like a pick 'em here. You got the Eagles taking on the Rams. We're taking the Eagles. We are laying the 1 point. We could push if that did happen. But, I mean, listen, Lane Johnson is back on the offensive line. Miles Sanders is back in the backfield. I really didn't see, when the Rams might have upset Dallas in week one, but I didn't really see a whole lot from them. Their ground game is meh. Their receiving core is the exact same. So I didn't really see anything that was dazzling. And I think with defensive liabilities that the Cowboys had, the Rams should have maybe done more damage. So I like taking the Eagles here. I think it's a stronger defense than what Dallas has. And I think that their offense can definitely put up some points.
Yeah, look, Aaron Donald's out of this world, and he can disrupt the game like nobody else. And so if the Eagles can contain him, that's always going to be the key to them. Very odd line for me on this one, because essentially when you're making your wagers or when you're looking at spreads, what you're looking at is just closing your eyes and thinking of two teams and automatically giving the home team a 3-point spread, right? Like you're just automatically doing that. And what the line is telling you here is that the Rams are definitely a better team than the Eagles. At least that's the line. And that is not right to me. I don't think that. I don't think the Rams are that good. And by the way, these two team season win totals, the Eagles was higher than the Rams going into the year. So the line makes no sense. If you're telling me that 8 days ago, Las Vegas perceived the Eagles to be better than the Rams over the course of the season, how in this one game, if they're going head-to-head against each other, is the spread not even? Meaning that the Eagles should be -3. That's it. Right. Just give them their 3 points for being at home. Now, look, you could make the argument with the crowd not being there. Maybe that's factoring in somewhat to these lines. But I look at Tampa Bay. They're almost 9-point favorites. And so I feel so good about this pick that we probably are going to lose, because it's so odd to me.
Well, if this was the first game you chose, then no, because if you want to let the trend be your friend, Craig, last year, the first game that you caught that you said to me when we had our discussion back and forth, that always hit. Always.
Well, I do like the Eagles, but I feel like I must be missing something here, because they opened up as 4.5-point favorites. The Rams were favored at one point. The Super Contest was -1. It feels like the line has now adjusted to where it should, should be. It's Eagles minus 1.5. My guess is we wake up tomorrow morning and it's -2. And that's more right of where I think it needs to be. And look, maybe the Eagles are just looking at the same thing as we are, and maybe Vegas is looking at the same thing that we are. And you can't deny the fact that when Lane Johnson doesn't play, the Eagles don't win. That's one of the other bizarre stats because I don't ever recall a non-skill position player being that important to his team. But the Eagles win 30% of their games without Lane Johnson over the last 5 years. 30%. And to go along with Miles Sanders, you and I are not big believers in the Rams at the end of the year. Will the Rams win 7 or 8 games? Sure. Will the Eagles win 7 or 8 games? Sure. But that means the Eagles should be 3-point favorites. So we got to take the Eagles in this spot. Have to do it.
All right. Well, that's what we're doing. That's our first pick there. Second pick, believe it or not, we're taking another favorite here. But this one I kind of feel, this is the one I feel most confident about, which probably should worry me then because I like the Steelers -7 against Denver. I mean, listen, we didn't see anything out of Denver offensively that was new with the change in coordinator. I don't know if Pat Shurmur, not having Cortland Sutton, was trying to dial it back a little bit, and maybe the injury to Phillip Lindsay let him be a little bit more conservative than anything else. But, the defense is going to struggle a lot. They've got injuries in the secondary. They put A.J. Bouye on IR. They lost Von Miller for the season. Just the Steelers' firepower, the Steelers at home, Big Ben at home. To me, this kind of seemed like a no-brainer because I think if the Steelers get up on Denver, they are not a team who I think can kind of, can wage any kind of a comeback here. And if memory serves, it's a pretty low total also.
Yeah, and that is where the point is here when you're taking Pittsburgh. Because, again, let's consider, and you and I had this conversation beforehand, and it's not a matter of me being right or you being right or anyone else. But going back to my discussion, what we talked about before the season and why I thought Denver would go under their season win total was just strictly based on the play calling of me watching the offense last year. And you are not the only one that said, hey, they hired a really good offensive coordinator to change things around. And it still may be the case. Okay, this is only week 2 here. So Denver could go into Pittsburgh and put up 31, and this whole thing could be just for naught. But I got to tell you, in week 1, where the world is watching on Monday Night Football, if that is the best that Denver has after 8 months of preparation for game 1, that's the best they have to offer, then I don't think that they have anything to offer. And you mentioned the total. Why is it 40? Is there that? I mean, that means Denver ain't scoring 3 touchdowns in this game. And if the spread is any indicator, they ain't even scoring 2 touchdowns in this game. It is odd to me that a John Elway team could be this poor on offense. And Vic Fangio is one of the few guys. I mean, I don't think any coach is going to get banged out in during this season because of COVID and everything. And I think everything would happen at the end of the year. But to me, when we talk about coaches on the hot seat right now, I'm sorry, I got to put this guy number 1 right at the top. For me. So look,
yeah, I hear you. My feeling about it is I think Shurmur played it way too conservatively in week 1 going up against Tennessee. And I think that was a huge mistake. I'd like to see him come out a little bit more aggressively. Do I think he's going to be able to do it against Pittsburgh's defense? No, but
no.
As we move forward,
the line was 4.5. The going into the Monday night affairs was 4.5. And so this is a huge swing in point spread. Now, we are at, for our pick in the Westgate, it is 7. Is that accurate? Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. The line is 7 now. It was 7.5 yesterday. If you're going to use our bet and put it in a parlay or some kind or bet it, you probably are going to have to do it now because I do think this could be 7.5. I have seen some smart people take Denver this week just because of some of the things we've talked about, their conservative play calling and the fact that they're going to be involved in a lot of close games, but I don't see it. I don't think Denver's very good. I don't see any change from last year at all offensively. I thought I watched a replay of 12 of their 16 games that they played last year. I understand Locke threw a little bit more last year toward the end of the year, but look at the opponents who they played against, by the way. We're taking Pittsburgh -7.
We're taking Pittsburgh -7. All right, number 3. Going all the way down the list here, our first dog that we're taking, the Giants on the road in Chicago. We're getting 5.5 points. I think, you and I have both said neither one of us are impressed with Chicago at all. I mean, their win last week was more about a monumental collapse of Detroit than anything else. Um, I don't love their defense right now. Khalil Mack is banged up. Their secondary is banged up as well. So I just, I don't necessarily I can't tell you whether or not the Giants are going to win this one outright, but I do think the Giants have enough offensive firepower to keep this one really close.
And I think that's it. I think that this does feel like a game that's tied at 20, with like 2 minutes left, and the Bears probably have it on the 15. And if they score a touchdown, we lose the bet, And if they kick a field goal, we win, something like that. Like it feels like this is going to be very close. The Giants were, I thought, pretty competitive in a very difficult spot against Pittsburgh last week. And Pittsburgh pulled away late a little bit. Pittsburgh found Benny Snell, and then, that worked. Montgomery looked okay for the Bears. He looked better against Detroit than I thought he looked most of last year. I have not been impressed with Montgomery since he's been in the NFL. He was a great running back in college, but I have not seen that elusiveness with him. But he did look pretty good. But look, the Giants on the other side do have some weapons, and I think they'll be able to expose the Bears a little bit. And simply put, it really isn't difficult in analysis. You just have to ask yourself, do the Bears really deserve to be almost a touchdown favorite over anyone in the NFL after what we saw last year? And the answer is no. So I would predict a very close game, and I'm with you. I think the Bears may win. I think they may win, but I think it's going to be very close. And again, Giants have the back door open for us too in this case. And the total is seemingly low. 42 is not a high total, so I feel good about this too.
All right. Well, then our fourth game here, another dog. We're taking the Jaguars. We're taking the 8.5. No, this is not an overreaction to the Jaguars upsetting the Colts in week 1. I mean, listen, the Jaguars, they've got an interesting running back in James Robinson. They've got a pass catching back in Thompson. They've got Gardner Minshew, who's happy to chuck the ball around the field and find DJ Chark, somewhere floating around there. The Titans, they don't have A.J. Brown. Corey Davis is their number one wide receiver. He's still coming off of nursing a hamstring issue. There's not a lot of offensive firepower outside of Derrick Henry. And, as much as I liked what Tannehill did last year, I kind of question that if we see the Jaguars stack the box, if we can't get a little bit of a closer game, at least to kind of keep the door open late for a backdoor cover where Gardner Minshew chucks down, the ball downfield, and we see some, garbage time touchdown.
Yeah, to me, this is more about the Jaguars' defense, I think, and we're going to find out, sort of if they can keep their team in games. They were challenged last week, and they rose to the challenge and picked off Rivers a couple times in the second half of that game, and we know that Tannehill has good games, has bad games as well. Last year, I know the first game that Jacksonville played was against Mariota, and I get that, and we know Mariota's more or less done in the NFL. But Jacksonville blew out Tennessee the first time they played them, and then Tennessee blew out Jacksonville the second time Derrick Henry just went wild like he always does. But this is early in the season, and the other part of this too is that some of the money has come in on Jacksonville here. We're getting an advantage in the line. It looks like this line could be -7 come the morning. We're getting 8.5, and you're not going to see that anymore, I don't think. Now, again, it did open up as Tennessee -11, and then when Jacksonville won, the reaction was pulling that line back about 2.5 points. But look, in terms of playing the Super Contest, we have to make 5 picks. Anybody who tells you that they can pick 5 games in the NFL would be retired. It ain't easy. So in terms of strength, we have 5 plays. We would probably agree of the 5, this is the 4th strongest we feel about.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take Jacksonville plus the points. And look, sometimes the ugliest games are the ones that win. And it's very easy to look on the schedule tomorrow as a novice and say, oh, Titans, big favorite. Give me the Cardinals, big favorite. Give me the Ravens, big favorite. Give me the Chiefs, big favorite. It's not the way the NFL works. You're going to have upsets. And the favorites were 9, 6, and 1 last week. That's going to reverse. At the very least, it's going to be even. And so you have to have your fair share of underdogs and favorites when you're doing this. And so we'll take Jacksonville, and we have an edge on the points. And so give me a free point as opposed to what the line is right now. I'll take it.
All right. Now, this last one here, this was the tough one for us. I mean, it really was. Like, if it wasn't for the Super Contest, I definitely wouldn't be picking 5 games this week.
No one should.
And it came down to 3 dogs, 2 home dogs, and the game we ended up picking. We took Washington plus 6.5. All right, against the Cardinals. But we were also contemplating, I threw out the Chargers plus 8.5. They always seem to play the Chiefs tough. It's always a tight game there. And then we also thought about taking the Raiders plus 5.5 on Monday Night Football, first game in LA. Now, we quickly just squashed that one right there, I think just because of the Saints and what they really are capable of doing, and also having a strong defense. The Chargers, I know you hate. I know you hate them, so that was another easy one. But talk to me here about Washington. What was your thought process on this game?
Well, look, it's certainly not my favorite of all, as we've talked about, and I thought Washington looked, it's a big overreaction to thinking that they're going to be able to win 8 or 9 games this year. I definitely don't think that's going to happen. But look, they've played competitive against a lot of teams through the years. And over the last couple of years, I think that they've played a lot more close games than people even thought. In terms of what Arizona is, I think to me it's a big overreaction to their win over San Francisco. Should Arizona be favored in this game? Yes. Are they a Super Bowl team? No, I don't think so. So for me, Washington is involved in a game where it's probably close. I feel like this game will be as well. And a game that we'll talk about when we do these live streams that I think we're going to know right away. I think in the second quarter, we're going to know if we have a shot to win this one or not, because either Arizona's going to blow them out or Washington's going to have a chance to win at the end of the game. So, look, Washington was 3-13 last year, and I thought that for the most part, they played competitive in a lot of games. They lost to the Giants by 6 at the end of last year, Eagles by 10, Packers by 5, beat Carolina, beat Detroit, played tight against Buffalo, tight against Minnesota. They lost 9-0 last year to the 49ers. They seem to just find a way to play close games. They don't win all of them. Defensively
I think that, right now, I mean, you look at them defensively, and that's the big thing that everybody's talking about, is how underrated their front seven is. And adding Chase Young, I mean, what a disruptor he is. I mean, that really, I mean, he alone really messed up that Eagles offensive line without having Lane Johnson there. So listen, that's kind of what I'm banking on right there. If they can contain that ground game, they can contain the pass, the short passes to Kenyon Drake or Chase Edmonds. Then it's a matter of containing Hopkins downfield. I'm not too worried about Christian Kirk. I'm not worried about Dan Arnold, sleeper tight end. So I like this one just in the sense of I feel like it can stay close. It doesn't matter to me who wins, just as long as it stays close. And when you're getting 6.5 points, I mean, who doesn't love getting points?
Yeah, and look, I think Arizona should be favored in the game, and probably I would say 4.5 would be fair, maybe 5. But I just don't think that they've earned being a touchdown favorite over anyone. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't they only win a handful of games last year? I mean, are they that much? Are they a 10-win team this year in the NFL? I mean, maybe so. I know some people feel that way. Maybe they are, and then this analysis will be wrong. But that was our 5th choice. And again, you have to make the best choice that you possibly can. We did look at some other games. We considered taking the Raiders on Monday night. That was one of them. You mentioned the Colts, I think, at one point as a possibility against Minnesota.
Against
I'm just not buying Indianapolis at all. I'm a little worried about them too. So
what about Miami? You were talking a little bit of Miami on Tuesday.
I think Miami finds a way to play competitive games. I'm kind of on the fence there a little bit with them. Another one that I was looking at was New England getting points in Seattle on Sunday night. Like eliminating that 12th man. I wonder what that's going to look like in Seattle. So that was just another curious one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wanted to kind of stay away from that one also because obviously Pete Carroll has spent enough time watching and coaching against Cam Newton. I know it's Belichick, and Pete Carroll's also spent a lot of his time coaching against there. So, I mean, I looked at that game, but I just kind of I had to pull back as well. Just I wasn't sure about that. And I agree with you. The 12th man is definitely going to be an issue. But overall, I didn't like these games. Overall,
it was a tough week. Yeah. I would have if I wasn't so disgusted with Detroit last week, I definitely would think that they are in play. I think that that's a massive overreaction that with a game that they should have won. But I think what we're going to learn this week in particular, Howard, is that think about the last 15 years, right? How many times has New England been bigger than a 3-point underdog in any game?
Oh,
Any
yeah.
game.
Probably never.
Never. Right?
Never.
And they probably should be 4-point underdogs. But, that's what's dragging me in here saying, my gosh, like I've never had the chance to take points with the Patriots. And is Cam Newton, let's say, about 2 point, are you at a -2 advantage by having Newton over Brady? Okay. Well, maybe the line should only be Seattle -1 or Seattle -1.5 and not 4. So this is sort of the things I think about when we make these picks. I think about a lot of stuff.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us.
But we did well last week. We were 3-2, and
sure.
And look, some weeks we go in with a lot of confidence, and some weeks we're really not sure. But I think that for me, if we came out of this 3-2, I'd be happy this week because again, of our 3 confident picks, we know probably one is going to go down. It's just the nature of this. And so if we get 2 out of the 3, and then with the 2 dogs that we take between Jacksonville and Washington, if one covers, okay, good.
That's the spirit, Craig.
3-2. Just give me 3-2 every week.
Not me, man.
It's amazing to me.
5-0.
It's amazing to me I don't know how to say this the right way. The naive that people are. I don't know what the word is. Did I say it right or no?
Naivete, yes.
Naivete of people that think that you could just win 7 out of every 10 NFL games. Like it's amazing to me that even in this day and age where we have 20 places, 20 cities, 20 states in the country that have now legalized sports betting, that people just think that this is like easy to do. Like it's just amazing to me. I mean, I've been at this a long time, and I still can't believe that I hear from some people when I'll say, if you win like 55%, you're doing great. Oh, no way. I win 70%. I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody what are you doing here? Why are you working?
Right, exactly. Why are you hustling right now with 70% accuracy? 70% accuracy, I'm on a yacht in the south of France.
And that goes for fantasy, wagering, everything else. I mean, think about that. So if you have somebody that says they win 70% of the games, and every week they fly to Las Vegas with $100,000 and bet $10,000 on every game, they're going to make $60,000 every week for 16 weeks, 17 weeks. There's no need to work if you're doing that. So maybe that is like a little wake-up call for some people, but no one is hitting that. No one. So, look, we've been close to 60 the last couple of years here and the last 3 years. And so that's a number to be proud of, certainly. But I would never even recommend betting 5 games on an NFL Sunday.
No.
Spot is like it's one. I understand that people want action, and this is discretionary income, I think, for a lot of us. So sometimes when I say that you should bet 1 game on a Sunday, people say, well, I like the action. Well, I understand that. And so if your bankroll on a Sunday is $100, and my advice is going $30 on one, 30 on another, 30 on the other, and trying to come out ahead, because you like the action as opposed to just betting the 1 game for 100. There's something to be said for that because look, people have lives and they have married, some have kids, and they just want to watch and feel like they were right and won money on things, and I get that. But once you dig deeper beyond 3 games, it's very difficult. And just look at the Super Contest winners over the last couple of years. The best people in the world are in the Super Contest, and no one is winning 70% of these games in the Super Contest. No one is winning 65% of these games at the end of the year in the Super Contest.
Listen, it's it's a good thing. It's good that you say that because I think that a lot of people who watch this live stream, a lot of people who listen on Sirius XM or they hear you on Sports Grid, I think that they're inundated with so many people saying, "Oh, I won, I was right, and and they hear that and they think that that's why they think that it's So easy to do. This guy on the radio, he tells me that he's a 75% right, right on NFL games every single week. It's like people need to understand that it's a little bit of bullshit. And
it is, and look, the other part of this too is, and I don't know what the right correlation is to it in professional sports. Maybe it's playing on a sandlot in baseball, or in saying you hit 3 home runs, or playing in a backyard of football and scoring 5 touchdowns. To me, that's the correlation of doing a show, a radio show or a television show with picks. Because something like this, that what we're doing, from watching us here on the live stream, that Howard and I have thousands of dollars on these picks for the year.
Yeah.
So we're invested in it. It is very easy to say, I went 8-2 this week picking in the NFL. How much did you win? I won nothing. I don't bet. If somebody says that to you, then it's like, yeah, I'm sure that I could go 8-2 one week also. But once your own money becomes part of the conversation and you start taking a look at the point spread, instead of clicking on the team, you may take a second look and say, wait, I have some money on this. Let me make sure that I'm making the right pick. So there's a lot of ways to do it. And I think that in the coming years I don't know if we're going to get to 50 states being legal, but I think we'll get to like 40, somewhere along those lines. And I don't want people to be in a rude awakening thinking that they could just tail us or tail anybody for the entire season and do this. But if you play it the right way and you start understanding contrarian approaches, understand which way the line is moving, right. Don't just necessarily look at a game and say this team is better than that team. Because again, action on both sides is the key to every sports book. You get 50% of the money on one and 50% of the other of the money on the other, and then the book makes the money. That's what they want. So it's not that one team's always better than another. You got to try and find the games that look wrong, and some games that look delicious. You got to go the other way because they're drawing you into the wrong side there. And and part of it is, as you talk about, is the analysis of the players and the teams. And look, you follow the NFL and the players more closely than I do, but certainly I am all over this too. Like, I mean, if you're a 10 out of 10 in terms of following it, Howard, I'm 9 or 9.5. So I'm right there as well. But hopefully at the end of the year, our record will speak for itself. It certainly has the last couple of years, and nothing makes me more proud that we document all of these over at Wager Alarm. You can see every ticket that we've posted for the last 3 years of picks there. And so there's no mystery with this. What we pick is on that ticket, and good, bad, or ugly, at the end of the year, it is our money going into this thing.
Yep. And you guys can go over to wageralarm.com. You can find the super contest post. Once our ticket is in officially, and I will have that posted up on the site well in time for the games tomorrow. So that's going to do it for us here to this week on the Wager Alarm live stream. Big thanks to Matt Sells, our producer. As always, big thanks to you, Craig, and thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Howard Bender. This is the Wager Alarm live stream. We'll catch you next time.